Welcome to this episode of Learning Fusion. In today's episode, we're going to be covering cameras within the 3D environment within Fusion. So let's roll this intro and let's get into it.
We're learning Fusion together. We'll learn 2D stuff and 3D stuff and particle stuff and compositing stuff, deep pixel stuff and tracking stuff, but not other stuff, but some other cool stuff, because we're learning Fusion together.
So here we are in Fusion, and I just got a quick little 3D setup. And if you're not sure what's going on, if you back up a couple episodes, we've been covering our 3D environment within Fusion. So right here, I've got our little merge 3D. I've got a camera going in, a couple lights. I've got a text and a shape going into our render node and into our media out. Now, within Fusion, there's a couple options for cameras. Now, typically for any 3D stuff you're going to be creating within Fusion, you're going to be using the regular camera 3D node. And you can bring this in by just simply clicking this little icon here, bringing in a camera 3D node. You can hit Shift Space and type in camera 3D and bring in a camera 3D node. But this is your typical 3D camera. So if we look at a merge, you can see we've got our camera right here, and we can move it around up and down. Within our camera itself, we can change a bunch of little settings. We can even have it be orthographic if we want, or perspective, our typical 3D stuff. We can transform it here, and let's bring that back center. There we go. And a bunch of other different controls. And if you want an in-depth node breakdown, I did create a node breakdown for all those 3D nodes I'm going to be using today. So you can check the description and get in-depth node breakdowns of exactly what every single setting in here is. But your camera 3D node is your typical 3D camera you see in any other 3D program like Blender or Houdini or 3ds Max, whatever you're using. It's your typical camera, and you can animate it, move it, and do camera movements just like any other 3D camera. Now, there is other options on our camera that kind of confuse people. So one is this image input right here. So we can technically bring in an image to be projected through our camera. So if I brought in, say, this little background, and we've got this background, just some weird stuff going on. If I wanted that to be the background of my camera, I could just grab this and input it into that pink image input, and there we go, we've got a background. Now, once I do that, if I look at my camera, we've got a whole bunch more options up here. So if I disconnect, we've only got our control, transform, and our settings. But if I reconnect it, we now have image, material, projection, and those settings. And this is what confuses people a lot when we start talking about projection or projecting images within Fusion, within the 3D environment. Because this projection right here only allows you to project through your camera. So if we look at our little image here, you can see it's projecting through our camera. We can see our background. Now we can go to our little camera here. We can tell it whether we want it to be a light, ambient light, or a texture. And we can select this enable camera projection. And if we do that, you notice it just projected across our little scene here. So it's getting projected on our actual element. So if I turn it off, you can see it's no longer there. It's only in the background. If I turn it back on, you can see it's projecting on our little shapes there. So if I go here and turn it on and off, you can see how that's projecting, which is great. And this might be what you want to do, but just know trying to manipulate this like an actual projector is a little odd, especially if you need to start adding multiple images and multiple projections and multiple projectors. And that's what all this projector ID and projector priority is, because you typically will use a lot of projectors. But you can use this, and you can see it's animated. There we go. But if I turn this enable camera projection off, it's just projecting on our background there. Now there is another node we can use for projection, and I'm bringing this up in the camera, but it's not actually a camera. It's technically a light. So if I hit Shift Space and type in Projector 3D, I can bring in a Projector 3D. But I'm going to bring this up in our little camera section here, because this is kind of used as a camera, not a light, even though it operates like a light. So I know that's a little confusing, but it basically operates like a spotlight. So if I look at our little merge here, and let's actually disconnect our other light so it's not all confusing. And I plug in our little projector here. If I bring that back, you can see we've got a projector projecting light. And let me disconnect this too. So if we look real close, you can see it's projecting that light onto our objects. And it operates kind of like a spotlight. But with this projector, we have this image input right here. So we can technically take that background we used before and we can input it. And now it's projecting that image using this projector 3D. So if I look at this, now you can see our little image we brought in is only being projected onto our little shapes there. And if I bring this back, go to my transform, back it up a little bit. So it's covering everything. There we go. Now it's covering all of our 3D elements within there. And we could technically, if we wanted to, still input this to the back of our camera 3D. So now we've got it everywhere. And we've just got a little more leeway when it comes to projecting onto our actual shapes using this projector 3D as a projection camera, even though it's a light. Because with our controls, we can control all this stuff, whether it's a light, ambient light, however we want. And again, I did an in-depth node breakdown of this if you want to see how this stuff works. But with this, we can actually separate stuff. So meaning, say we only wanted our little projection here only going on our camera text. How we would do that is we could just take another little merge 3D node. Let's disconnect that. And instead of connecting our camera projector into this merge, we're going to input it into this merge. And anything we want this camera projection to be projected onto, we're going to plug into this merge as well. So meaning we only wanted our text. So we're going to disconnect it, connect it to this merge 3D, and then we can take this merge 3D and plug it in there. So now that background is only being projected onto our little camera there. And we lost our light, so we can actually bring in our directional lighting. And there we go. We've got it projected onto just that. Or we can bring in our spotlight and we can light our background with our spotlight instead. So turn up our intensity, change our cone angle there. So there we go. We've got that little sphere in the background lit with our little graphic lighting our camera node. So that's the difference between using the projector and using projection mode on the camera. So let's go ahead and disconnect these. Let's get into our next camera I want to talk about. And actually, I'm going to disconnect all this stuff because I don't need anything. So the next camera I want to talk about is the spherical camera. So if I hit shift space and type in SPH spherical camera, I can bring in this spherical camera. And the spherical camera is what we use for VR stuff or 360 stuff. If we want to view, like say a lat long image. So let's disconnect this camera and I'm going to input this. And let's go here and we can see what the spherical camera is doing. So we've got a camera and it's kind of looking everywhere. And if you notice, we've got lines going all directions. That means it's a spherical camera. Now, to be able to see anything with this, we need to build a couple things. So first, we need a sphere with a texture. So we can bring in a shape node. And I'm going to input our little shape. And we're going to change it to a sphere. And I'm going to change my radius to be huge. And I'm going to up my subdivisions just because I can. Now, if I look at our little render node here, you notice it's black because technically our camera is inside our sphere looking out and we have no textures and we have no lights or anything on inside. So let's say we had a 360 or a VR image that we wanted to project or we wanted to be the texture of this little node here. Now, for the image types we want to bring in is we technically need an HDRI that's in EXR format that contains lat long data. So for example, This image right here is just an EXR, and it contains lat long data of this VR 360 footage here, or this image. So what we can do is we can plug this into our little shape material, which is the green input there. If we look at our little render node, we're still not going to see anything, because one thing we need to do is we need to go to our shape, because it's looking for a light. So if I input this light, you can see we've got a light, but our light's just shining at one area. So technically we want to shut our lights off. So let me disconnect that. If we go to our little shape here, we go to lighting, we can just uncheck this affected by lights, and we have our original image there. So it's going to be lit correctly. But if you notice, we're really not seeing our rendered 3D image correctly. And to be able to see it in our VR format, because that's what you would use this for, is our VR type stuff. If I right click, go to 360 view, and either hit auto, or I know this is lat long, I can hit lat long, and it's going to spread that out. That way I can see the image as it's intended to be seen. So within there, I can go to my spherical camera, say go to my transform, and I can rotate it on the Y so I can start looking around my image. And I can animate this to make it look around, and I'm good to go. Now, just know, once I go out, say from my media out, back into our edit page, if we look, our image is going to look like this again. So it's not going to look normal. And this is because this is intended for VR use. So you would deliver this for VR use. And if you looked at it through VR headsets, it would look like our little Fusion image here. You'd be able to see our little 360 view, be able to look around. You can even look up and down if you wanted to, and you can see the whole image. Now, if you wanted this image to be in the 2D world, you can do that as well, but we wouldn't use our spherical camera. We would just use our normal camera. So if I disconnect the spherical camera and plug in our normal camera, it's going to look odd because we're still in our VR 360 view. We can hit disable. So now we're back into our normal size image here with our 2D, and I can go to our regular camera here, go to our transform, and on the Y, I can move it around, and yeah, it's going to look weird because first of all, I probably should have changed my camera angle, because on our camera, we go to our controls. Right now I have this set up as a focal length of a 35 millimeter, but if I just double click this and set it back to 45 degrees, our angle of view is going to show that image correctly now. So now I can go to my transform and look around our image. So now we're looking at a 360 view of our little image. We can look around, we can look up and down, and we can animate this however we want. And if we go to our little edit page here, you can see it's correct. So we would deliver it as a normal 2D image and not a 360 like we would with the spherical camera. So those are the cameras. Even though these are technically our only two cameras that we have, I consider this Projector 3D, even though it's a light, kind of like a camera, because that's how we would use it as a camera when we're doing projection style 3D within Fusion. So I will see you guys in the next episode.